Why do we do the things we do? I mean, really, have you ever stopped to think about it? It's probably one of the most basic questions out there. Today, we're going to build a really powerful way of thinking about not just our money, but every single choice we make, big or small. So let's dive in. And we're going to start with a classic puzzle, one that has stumped people for centuries. It's called the paradox of value. Think about it. Water is absolutely essential for survival. Diamonds are, well, they're pretty, shiny rocks. Yet a tiny little diamond is worth way, way more than a gallon of water. How on earth can that be?
You know, the key to solving this puzzle, and a whole lot more, isn't found by studying the physical properties of diamonds or water. Nope, it's found by understanding one core idea: the nature of human action itself.
Okay, so what exactly is human action? It sounds simple, but it turns out this concept is way more specific than just, any old behavior. It's the absolute foundation for this entire way of thinking.
So, at its core, human action is defined as purposeful behavior. It's our will put into motion. It's not a random twitch or an accident. It's a conscious adjustment we're making to the world around us, and it's always aimed at achieving some kind of goal.
And this brings us to a super important distinction. You choosing to get up and drink a glass of water, that is a purposeful action. But your eye automatically blinking when a bright light flashes, that's just an involuntary reaction. One is a conscious choice, that's the world of what's called praxeology, while the other is just an automatic body response, something for physiology to study.
So for any action to even happen, 3 conditions have to be met. First, you've got to feel some kind of dissatisfaction. You're thirsty. Second, you have to be able to imagine a better state, a state of not being thirsty. And third, and this is crucial, you have to believe you can actually do something about it, like, hey, I can go get that glass of water. If any one of those is missing, no action happens.
So, if all action is about reaching goals, we really need to understand its basic components. And this is where we get into the building blocks: ends, means, and the unavoidable fact of scarcity.
The end is simple enough. That's your goal, the relief you're looking for. The means are the tools you use to get there. But here's a really cool implication. A tree that's fallen in the forest is just a thing. But the second a person looks at it and thinks, hey, I could use that to get across the river, that's the moment it becomes a means.
And this leads us to a fundamental truth of our world. Every single means we use is limited. It's scarce. We don't have endless time or energy or resources. I mean, if something was unlimited, like the air we breathe, in most cases, we wouldn't even need to act to get it. It's this very scarcity that forces us to choose. And that right there is the heart of economizing.
Let's make this real with a simple ham sandwich. It doesn't just pop into existence, right? It's the final piece of a really long chain of production. The sandwich itself, the thing you eat, that's what we call a consumer's good. But the bread, the flour before that, the wheat before that, those are all producer's goods. They're all steps on the journey, going all the way back to the original factors, land and labor.
Now, beyond the physical stuff we use, there are these 2 universal kind of invisible forces that shape every single action we take. And those are time and uncertainty.
Think about it. Every single action is a journey through time. We start right now in a state we're not totally happy with. Then we do something. We use our means during what you could call a period of production. And we do it all in the hope of reaching a better, more satisfactory state in the future. Action is always, always aimed at the future.
And because time itself is scarce, you can't get more of it. We all share this universal trait. If you could have the exact same good thing, would you rather have it now or later? We'd all pick now, right? That's not just a personality quirk. It's a fundamental law of human action called time preference.
And that future we're always aiming for, well, it's a mystery. It's fundamentally unknowable. We can plan, we can guess, but we can never be 100% certain. So every choice we make, every single action we take, is a kind of speculation. It's a bet that what we're doing will actually get us what we want.
All right, so we've established that action is all about choosing. We use our scarce means to satisfy our most important goals. But how do we decide which goals are the most important?
When you decide to spend an hour watching a baseball game instead of going for a drive, you haven't really measured anything. But you have demonstrated something incredibly profound. You've shown that in that moment, for you, the game ranked higher than the drive. Your actions literally reveal your personal scale of value.
And this brings us to the absolute core insight of this entire framework. Value is not intrinsic. As this quote says, it is not in things, it is within us.
In other words, value isn't a property of an object, like its weight or its color. It's not in the diamond. It's not in the water. Value is a judgment that we make. It's completely subjective.
So let's lock this in. Value has 3 key traits. 1, it's subjective. Your value scale is different from mine, and it can even change for you from one moment to the next. 2, it's ordinal. We can only rank things first, second, third. And 3, this is a big one, it's not cardinal. You can't say you value something 2.5 times more than something else because there's no such thing as a unit of happiness to measure.
Okay, we now have all the pieces of the puzzle. We've built the whole framework. So let's go all the way back to that initial mystery. Why are diamonds worth so much more than water? The answer is in how we apply these tools.
Here is the absolute key, the mental shift we have to make. When we're making a choice, we're not comparing the abstract idea of all the water in the world versus all the diamonds in the world. No. We are always choosing between the specific, concrete units available to us right here, right now. 1 more gallon of water or 1 more carat of a diamond.
Just look at this scale for water. The very first gallon you have access to is unbelievably valuable, right? It keeps you alive. The second might be for cooking, the third for bathing. But by the time you get down to your 100th gallon, what are you using it for? Maybe washing your driveway? The importance of the need you're satisfying drops with every single additional unit.
And this right here brings us to the brilliant concept of marginal utility. The value of a good isn't some abstract average, it's the value of the unit at the margin, the next one you could get, or the first one you'd give up. And its value is always determined by the least important job it's doing for you. With tons of water, its marginal utility is tied to that 100th gallon, a pretty low value task. And boom, here's where it all clicks into place. We value things based on their marginal unit. For water, which is super abundant, that marginal unit is the 100th gallon, being used for a low-value job, so its marginal utility is very, very low. But for diamonds, which are incredibly scarce, the marginal unit is the first diamond, serving a high-value purpose like adornment or status. Its marginal utility is huge. And just like that, the paradox is gone. So, let's end on this thought. If value isn't some fixed property of an object out there in the world, but is instead something we are constantly creating in our own minds with every single choice we make, what does that change? It means the world isn't just a static pile of resources. It's a dynamic stage where human purpose, human value, and human choice are constantly unfolding.